Okay, well, good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm just going to give about 20 or 30 seconds before we officially kick off, just to let everyone joining us this morning, this afternoon or this evening, depending on your location today, an opportunity to log in and connect to the audio. So I'll just give it a few seconds. Our attendees are just coming in at the moment. So good afternoon to everyone who's joining us. So let's just to get started. My name is Gillian Dernan and I'm Alumni Relations Manager at the UCD College of Business. And on behalf of myself and all of my Alumni Relations colleagues at UCD, it's my absolute pleasure today to welcome you all to this year's UCD Virtual Festival at Home and to our panel discussion this afternoon. I'm thrilled today to be joined by such a stellar lineup and would like to thank all of our panelists for giving so generously of their time this afternoon to participate in this festival event. So the format for today, after a very brief introduction from myself, I'll pass you over to Conor, who's going to kick off today's discussion. And I welcome attendees to submit any questions which they'd like to, if they want to put using the Q&A box, which you can access on the screen. And we'll try and get through as many of the questions as we can towards the end of today's conversation. So aside from our panelists' obvious connection in terms of sport, their sporting backgrounds and their incredible sporting achievements, I'm very proud to say that a common thread which unites all of our participants today is their association with the UCD College of Business. So our interviewer, Conor McNamara, attended Smurfit Business School where he received a postgraduate diploma in business studies. Originally from Limerick, Conor has been commentating on the world's biggest sporting events for the past 20 years. He joined the BBC in 2002, and since then he has become a familiar voice to UK listeners as part of the BBC Match of the Day and 5 Live commentary teams. Cliona Crammond is a current student of the MSc Aviation Finance programme, also at Smurfit School, and Cliona is a UCD Sports Scholarship recipient for soccer. Prior to her studies in Smurfit, Cliona completed her 4-year bachelor's degree in Business Administration and Finance at Goldie Beacon College in the United States, where she was captain of her college's soccer team. Cliona was selected as one of the best players in her position in the whole of the United States at her divisional level in 2018, and was the first female in her college's history to be named a CCA Athletic All-American. Like Cliona, Brian Fenton is also a current student undertaking a Masters in Management at the College of Business. Brian is a Gaelic footballer for the Dublin Senior Football Team, and he plays his club football for Raheny. In 2018, he joined an elite list of GAA football legends when he was named as the GAA and GPA's All-Star Footballer of the Year. Remarkably, Brian has yet to lose a championship game for Dublin, and his list of achievements is accumulating rapidly, with 4 All-Irelands, 4 Leinster titles, 3 National Leagues and 2 All-Star awards. Cian O'Sullivan holds a BBLS degree in addition to a Masters of Accounting from UCD. He is a senior Gaelic footballer for top Dublin club Kilmacud Crokes, and he's also a member of the Dublin Senior Football Team. He won his first Dublin Senior Football Championship medal for Kilmacud Crokes in 2008 and made his inter-county debut for Dublin in 2009. He has won All-Star awards on an impressive 3 occasions, securing his first at the end of the 2013 footballing season, a second in 2015 and a third in 2017, following some fantastic footballing displays throughout the season. Finally, last but not least, Johnny Sexton, Irish Rugby Union player, plays as fly half for Leinster Rugby in Ireland and also captains both of those teams. Johnny has previously represented the British and Irish Lions on 2 occasions and has scored an incredible 800 points in his international career, making him one of the highest point scorers in rugby union history. He was the winner of World Rugby Player of the Year in 2018 and is only the 2nd Irish player in history to win this award, after the inaugural winner Keith Wood in 2001. Johnny is a graduate of the BCom degree at UCD. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us at today's UCD Virtual Festival at Home, and I'll now pass you over to Conor for today's panel discussion. Thanks, Conor.
Thanks very much, Gillian. Hello to everyone. Good to see we've got a couple of 100 people tuned in already. I'm sure more will be joining in. So pop your questions into the Q&A box and we'll get to them as we go on. Very pleased to see, first and foremost, that we've got our lockdown haircut competition. Cian has gone for the close shave. Very impressive. Johnny looking neat and tidy. Brian, have you done it yourselves, lads?
Danielle, I'll go for it. Danielle had the first stab at mine, and she did the back and sides, and then didn't quite get the blend into the top. So I just had to take myself and do the buzz cut. So it's another 2 months till we get to a barber. So
you're looking well on it. You're looking well on it. Johnny, have you take the clippers yourself?
Yeah, I did my son, and then I let him have a go at me. Then my wife picked up the pieces.
Very good, Brian.
Yeah, something similar. I let my girlfriend Sarah at it, and then we were using this sort of razor that I bought, I think, in Argos in probably 2008 or 2009. So it wasn't too successful. So I had to go and buy a new one and sort of go through it myself then a couple of weeks ago. So growing back nicely now, not too worried about it.
Cliona, my wife tells me that the women are having it harder in this lockdown with the grooming, etc. You coping okay?
Yeah, luckily I don't dye my hair or anything, so I'm just letting it grow out. So. But I feel for the girls who do dye their hair. It's tough.
Absolutely. Right. Well, we are here to speak about leadership in sport. I guess this is a funny time for all you guys. You play on teams. You're surrounded by teammates all the time. Has it been very strange being detached from that? I'm sure for the first week or two, it's probably a relief to have a bit of space. But how have you been finding things? Brian, maybe kick off with you. Is it weird not having that dressing room bond with your colleagues?
Yeah, it's certainly bizarre, Conor. I think I was asked this recently. It's the time away. You probably appreciate the lads more. I think having been away from them. I think when you're training with them, you take it a little bit for granted. This is going to happen every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for the rest of the year, hopefully until well into September. So yeah, it's certainly bizarre. It takes a couple of weeks to get used to, but luckily there's been, as is well documented, there's been a couple of Zoom calls between us, and we're all keeping in touch. So we're never too far away from each other, really.
Yeah, Johnny, you keeping in touch with various teammates, the international, provincial, all the rest of it?
Yeah, we've actually got surprisingly a lot done over these type of calls, the Zoom calls, and yeah, we've actually been able to be really proactive and meet up a good bit, and it's been a good time to reflect and look back at what's been good and what we need to improve on, from a leadership group point of view, and so we've used the time effectively, I think.
And of course, for you, this significant era of leadership, taking over the captaincy, and obviously not the ideal first year of that. But do you feel an extra responsibility that it's up to you to coordinate a little bit with your teammates, particularly the younger guys?
Yeah, of course. I'm lucky that we've got a very close group in Leinster and Ireland, so it's very easy to stay in touch with guys. We'd be very close off the pitch, so we'd spend a lot of time texting and into the group and texting each other, ringing each other. So like I said, it's not a chore. It's not something that you dread having to pick up the phone to guys. It just happens naturally. And yeah, like Brian said, you really appreciate being what you have. When you're at training, you do take it for granted. It's only when you look back and you think, I really did take it for granted at times, but I'm looking forward to getting back now, and even small group training will be a big bonus at this stage.
Absolutely. Cliona and Cian, you both probably might have been away from your teammates a little bit at the moment anyway. Cian, you've had a new arrival. Cliona, you've been doing exams. So had you sort of factored, maybe Cliona first, had you factored to take a little bit of time at the moment away from team sport anyway right now?
Yeah, so I've been doing exams for the past 2 weeks, so I wouldn't have been training really much during that time anyway. But I think I really miss having a routine and being able to go and because other people, if they have jobs, they're on Zoom, 9 to 5 every day. But with the studying, you kind of tend to procrastinate and start a bit later. So yeah, I just miss having a routine. Training in the afternoon, I have to get this much done during the day, and obviously just having fun with your teammates.
Right, so most people on this call will have done exams in UCD. What's it been like doing exams during coronavirus when you've got to do them at home?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. You're just kind of doing an exam in your bedroom, and it opens up at a certain time, and then it's just the clock is ticking. It's really intense actually, and obviously when you do exams in an exam hall, I tend to just kind of learn things off and kind of regurgitate them onto the page, but when you're doing them at home, it's open note, so you have to be careful that you don't plagiarize everything and you actually think of your own ideas.
I'm sure those marking your papers might be tuning in, so you should get a few extra points for doing this anyway. I hope that they'll help you out. Cian, you've had the new arrival. Congratulations. Getting sleep?
Getting last night, we had a good night last night, but there's no there's no telling how the night's going to go. We're 6 weeks ago at this stage, so we're getting into a little bit of a routine. And yeah, like in that respect, this isolation or lockdown period has been a massive positive for me on a family and personal side, because I've got to spend loads of time with a newborn Bonnie and my wife Danielle that I probably wouldn't otherwise have had. You know, well, six weeks ago now, and we've got the grips with having this extra person in our lives, and it's going great. So I am looking forward to getting back into a bit of structure. I'm probably so used to having structure as athletes, and you know, you're training X number of nights a week and you have to be here at this time, and being left to fend for it on your own and not have that structure in your day and your training is a bit of a challenge. But looking forward to whenever it is getting back into some kind of mode of training and playing.
I wonder, Johnny, this experience that you guys are going through, you know, normally using so much energy, normally so focused in your sport, and suddenly not having any competition. Would recently retired players be good people to speak to at this stage? Because they, you know, everyone who retires must in a way have a little mini coronavirus period where they're sitting at home, they're trying to still go for a run every now and again, they want to keep in good shape, but they don't have that competitive action to look forward to.
Yeah, I think this is a great time to go and reach out to loads of different people of all different ilks. And for me, you know, reaching out, trying to find out, you know, what worked for them later on in their career, you know, how they're coping themselves, you know, since retirement. But very much for me, it's focusing on, you know, how can you get better through this period? I think that should be a key focus, and something we're trying to hammer home with Leinster and Ireland is how can we come out of this better and ahead of the curve, ahead of the you know, the competition. And we've tried to go in with that mindset. It has its challenges, you know, when you hear of a date that you're due to be back that gets pushed back another couple of weeks, and you think, oh, not again, and will it ever come back? But you got to just try and stay positive. We've got a date now for the end of August that we can aim for, to be in top shape. And I try to look at it positively, like it's given me a break at this stage of my career that, you know, I've never really had before, like a 5-month window to work on myself physically and mentally, and hope to come back better, really.
You know, and it's true. And you've had a history of injuries of various types. In a way, could this be good for your body to recover a little bit? Yeah,
like all athletes, you know, injuries is the biggest battle, really. I would describe it as, you know, over the course of your career, you go through highs and lows, but the fight against injuries is probably the hardest thing. Yeah, I think I've had a few over the years. I've been also very lucky that I'm still playing at this age, and I haven't had that long a period out of, you know, I haven't had a real serious one, touch wood, I won't. But yeah, I've been very lucky, but you try and develop, you know, even better ways to stay more robust and make sure that when you do come back, you're ready to put some games together.
Brian, it would have been a very big summer coming up ahead of you. What's your thoughts on it now? You know, when do you expect to be smelling cut grass again and out there kicking ball?
Yeah, it's actually when I was listening to Cian at the start, introducing Cian and the history of Kilmacud Crokes. I think we were due to play them in the club championship, as far as I remember. So I have that correct, Cian. So yeah, it sent a bit of a shiver down the spine. Kilmacud Crokes are always very dominant in that competition. So potentially a little bit glad that didn't go ahead. But yeah, so I think the GAA have come out and said the month of October. Again, there seems to be a big push, maybe just to open up even pitches for groups of 4 as the sort of guidelines stipulate now, that to let people just get out and get back to any sense of normality. But so yeah, as I said, John Horan, the president of the GAA, has said October. That's what we're basing ourselves off now. So it's trying to really time your run, as Johnny says, is to try and, you know, is there really any point going hell for leather now when, you know, if there is to be a competition run off from October to Christmas, that, you know, you might need to be peaking early December, you know, maybe late December. So yeah, there's a lot to it. It completely changes everything about the structure that we've been used over the last few years. But like Johnny says, I think it's, for me, you know, not from an injury perspective, but, you know, I've been on the road intensely now with Dublin for 5 years, and no doubt it comes as a nice period just to reflect and take a breather. My own club today, Raheen, are doing a fundraiser. I ran a couple of kilometres this morning. I never would have been able to do that if, say, we were training with Dublin. And, you know, there's silver linings to many things. But yeah, hopefully maybe later in the year we might get a couple of games, whether it be behind closed doors or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're here to talk about leadership. Not sort of, it's so easy to dwell on the current situation, but Brian, you came into a team that was very successful as you joined it, and obviously you've helped that success to continue. And we're talking about leadership. Is it difficult as a young player to come in, and maybe you want to show that you can show a bit of leadership even though you're young, but you might have to be patient and listen to the older heads first? Is there a balance to be struck there?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely, it's completely not nerve-wracking. You're as a young player coming into a dressing room, it is the most daunting environment. You're coming into, say, I came in 2015. Dublin had won the All Ireland in 2011, 2013, and were hotly tipped in 2014. They were at the top of their game, and coming into that dressing room is difficult, undoubtedly. And there is, as you say, there's that sort of period where you might have an idea and you might have an opinion or something to say, but you stay shut and you just let the Cian O'Sullivan speak and let the Stephen Cluxton speak. And but then gradually, I think a lot comes with playing games and training and growing the confidence and trust amongst your teammates, maybe that, they sort of back you, you're developing that relationship with them, and then you sort of gradually speak up a little bit. In Dublin, we try and get younger lads incorporated and involved as quick as we can and let them either talk to the group or present to the group, and just to break that barrier, because it can certainly be very difficult, and there's certainly a bit of a quiver in the voice when you start to talk to the group for the first time. But yeah, no, undoubtedly there is, but that comes, as I said, with trust and getting to know the lads and developing that relationship with them,
Yeah, Cian, from your, so I wouldn't say this politely, if you're one of the more senior members of the squad, and you have been for a while, if a young hotshot comes in, do you want to see them brave enough to start displaying leadership qualities, or do you think they need to bide their time?
Yeah, I guess 100%. And for me, the biggest, learnings around leadership, having been part of Dublin and part of a high performance setup for however many years it is that it comes in many different guises, and it's not just someone standing up and presenting to the team, or someone giving a pep talk before a game, or jumping in. Oftentimes you have players in squads that speak for no reason and can speak too much, and that's not good leadership. Leadership, the best form of leadership for me is what standards and behaviors are you showing to the rest of your players, and are you leading by example? So from that respect, 100% you want to see that from new players coming into the squad. And as Brian said, we try and create an environment where everyone is given a voice and is encouraged to use that voice. And voice isn't in the literal sense of voice. It's show us what you have. These are what we expect from players. It's up to you now to show everyone else that you can adhere to those standards and behaviors or whatever, and lead the group in doing that. So you don't have to be on the squad, whatever, Stephen Cluxton's there probably 17 or 18 years at this stage, to do that. You can be in just a week or two and hit the ground running that way. So certainly, yeah, that's critical for the success of our team, that we have new blood coming in and leading the squad in that way.
Cliona, when you were in the States, how did you feel maybe in your final year, if there's a freshman player comes in and they've got opinions and they want to show that they can, be a voice in the dressing room? Is that welcomed by senior players, do you think, particularly with that American element? Because Americans always seem to be so fluent and ready to share their thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think a good leader wants to hear other people's opinions and wants to take, it's everybody's team, it's not just the leader's team, wants to take everything into account. And when I was a captain, I kind of appreciated other people speaking up, because maybe I was a little bit quiet and wouldn't be like a traditional captain that would kind of tell people what to do or be very vocal. I was more, like Cian was saying, leading by example and just trying to work my hardest, and doing smaller things like just showing up early to every team function and stuff like that. So yeah, anybody else who wanted to speak up, they're definitely more than welcome. I think it's better to have many voices and not just one leader.
Well, you know, in a parallel universe, I think we'd all be in Belfield today, or we'd be somewhere in UCD, and we'd probably go for a beer in the sunshine afterwards. And obviously, we're accommodating this as well as we can online. But we are getting some questions in from participants. Paul has got a question for Johnny. He's asking: is there one quality above others that stands out from the great leaders that you've worked with? I mean, it's easy, I guess, to look at a captain of a rugby team and say, well, they lead by example. But is there a quality that you would pick out, Johnny?
Well, it would be exactly that. Sorry to give you the boring answer, but what Cian said is the guys that I've played under that have been great captains have been the guys that have, and I'm talking about coaches as well, because they're obviously leaders. They set the tone, they set the example that everyone else needs to follow. Whether that's being first in the building as a coach, as a senior player, you know, how you carry yourself around the organisation, you know, the example that you lead on and off the pitch to the younger guys. So it is very much actions first. Of course, then there's the other elements of leadership, the being inspirational. Like I've played under some great inspirational captains that will get the hair on the back of your neck standing up, but that's just the extra 1% that wouldn't have carried any weight if they didn't do the first bit, which accounts for like 95% of leadership, which is, like Cian said, lead by example. You know what I mean, and give everyone else in the organisation something to follow. So that's definitely the most important.
Yeah, Brian, tell us about working under Jim Gavin. He's got a military background, doesn't he? Does that come into the organisational structures and things?
Yeah, for certain. I'd say everyone online who's watching in has heard of Jim's background, military background, and that just came naturally through in his leadership style. I think everything was planned down to the last detail, whether we were traveling to an away game or the durations of meetings or anything like that. So it was just that military precision that he brought. And look, I think, you know, his record speaks for itself, that worked. But as Johnny says, I think he not only did he just bring a structure to everything, he was the man who led by example. He was first at training, and I remember I left a notebook up where we train in DCU during the summer, and I went back up about an hour and a half after the players had probably left the building, and Jim was still there, you know, that sort of way. So that's just leading by example, putting in the graft and the hard work behind the scenes, the mundane stuff. I think goes a long way to that trust and that leadership developing amongst the players.
Yeah, there's a question, actually, I'll bring Cliona in this in a moment, but Brian, you first, from Chen C, who says, as far as she's aware, Smurfit courses are very intense. How do you manage to balance your studies with playing sport at a high level? How have you found that balancing act between needing to be top of your game in one discipline, but then also not you know, letting the studies get built up on you?
Yeah, it's a juggling act, I suppose. I'm 1 year now into my sort of business master's degree, and luckily it's a part-time degree, so it's not full-time. Well, I suppose it's even more challenging in many ways because you're training, you're working, and you're trying to get to the classes. But that set up in UCD, they have it done fantastically, and probably many people looking online have done part-time degrees and stuff. But so they do it sort of block release Fridays, Saturdays, and you are trying to juggle that with, okay, I might have an away league game that Saturday. Can I get to a couple of hours of college in the morning to then get on the team bus at 1 o'clock and get to a game or something? So it's certainly challenging. I'm a year into it, but I've been very lucky that, you know, and the way they've set up the degree, there's a lot of group work, there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of sharing ideas. And I think it comes down to, you know, even only recently, I missed a lecture one day. I had to leave for a match, and one of my classmates emailed me the notes from the class later that day. So it's just, you know, people looking out for each other. Everyone's in the same boat. A lot of the students enrolled in it would have kids and families, you know, would have as many things on their agenda as I would, and it's just looking out for each other. And I think, you know, I'm not plugging UCD here, but they facilitate that as best they can, and the staff and the lecturers have been incredible in supporting us, thankfully. So. Yeah,
there's always been a strong connection as there's sport in UCD. Cliona, how have you found it? I guess to be successful in sport, you've got to be disciplined. You've got to have structure. Does it actually dovetail with study quite well, or do you find it difficult at times to make them both be as effective as they can be?
I tend to just kind of simplify everything. So, you know, whether it's college or sports, I kind of just take it day by day and say, you know, I have this to do today and I'm going to get through this before I kind of start getting too far ahead of myself. Or maybe they release all the assignments at the start of the year and I look at them and I'm like so overwhelmed, like there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do all that. So I kind of just simplify it, you know, take it one part at a time and kind of keep working my way through stuff and like say, I have to submit this assignment today and I have training later, and then, you know, I'll move on to the next day. And I think that kind of helps me be more like confident in myself to kind of achieve what I want in sports and in college. And yeah, like Brian was saying, UCD have been like so supportive. If you miss a lecture or anything, you know, your classmates will help you catch up, and there's a lot of group work and stuff. So you can text anybody in your group and ask them what you missed. So yeah, it's definitely manageable when you break it down.
Cian, you've got a real job as well as playing sport, and I'm sure it opens doors for you. People know who you are from a sporting fame, which I'm sure helps you professionally. How do you find that balance? For example, do you think when you retire from playing, will your job be easier? Will it be harder? What do you make of it?
Like, to a certain, yeah. So on the first question there, to a small degree, it does help in the job in terms of business development and opening doors and stuff. But I'm a tax advisor, so it's quite a technical area, and unless you're able to deliver as a tax advisor, it's not really worth anything. So you can open a door.
Nobody wants to hear GA stories when tax returns are due. Yeah,
after 10 minutes talking about the game at the weekend, it doesn't really count for much if you can't deliver for your clients. So I've been very fortunate to be able to pursue that career in tandem with playing football, intercounty football, and I don't think it's going to be any easier once I finish. Like, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I ever got around time management was, you know, when you break it down in the week, there's a lot of hours there. Like, you have 24 hours a day, say there's 160 whatever hours a week, and you consider how much time you sleep, how much time you're at training, and what's left to do other stuff. Like, there's a good bank of hours there. So when people say to you that, you know, oh, I just don't have the time, or how do you have the time to do that? It's not really a reflection of actually the time. It's your focus. You know, what are you focusing on? What are you prioritizing? And if you're very clear about what it is that you want to achieve, then the time shouldn't be a factor. And that goes for whether it's your studies or your professional life and sport, and making that all work. So yeah, I guess if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. So Johnny, Brian and Cian have got study. Cian's got his tax job. I guess you're getting more time to be daddy now. I mean, is that the role that maybe? I mean, you know, I travel a lot for sport, and probably as much as you do. You feel guilty that you're not at home more often. You feel guilty you're not doing the stuff with the kids. Is now a time for you to catch up on that?
Yeah, it is. You know, we're still trying to train at home. We've got sessions to do every day for certain weeks. But that is something that I definitely did struggle with when I first had a family, was or kids, was like Cian said, was managing my time. And when you're at training, not feeling guilty about not being at home with the kids, or feeling guilty, you know, when you're getting, like, a lot of our stuff recovery wise, if it's going getting a massage or going for a nap, you know, during the day, I was struggling because I was like almost thinking like I'm doing something wrong here, you know what I mean? It was actually more detrimental because, you know, I'd have been better off just going and relaxing for half an hour than worrying about, you know, getting home. So I actually, the lads would know him well, Gary Keegan, who works with the Dublin Football Team. I got recommended him, and I met him, and he was brilliant for me. This was a few years ago now, and we, like Cian said, time management, you know, put things in perspective. You know, when I'm working, I'm working. These are the hours I'm working. When I'm home, I'm home. And it's very much just being present, just being mindful of where you are, and being focused on whatever that is at the time. And that helped me massively with juggling a lot of different things at once.
And I guess even more than the other guys, you when you travel, go for periods, you know, things like World Cups or Leinsters, you're away for a long time. So again, does leadership come into that when you're home, do you feel under pressure to make up for those absences?
Yeah, a little bit. This is the good thing about being home now for an extended period. Like the stage my youngest is at, she's just coming up to 2. I probably missed the other 2 kids, you know, in this period, and she's changed enormously in the last 6 weeks. Like, it's been crazy for me to actually see it, as opposed to, you go to New Zealand, for me in the Lions tour, I'm gone for 2 months and I come home and I've got like 2 totally different kids that I didn't see growing up. So it's nice from that perspective. The hard part is normally I come home at like 4 o'clock, you know, have my dinner with the kids, and then I have a bit of crack with them for an hour or two. So I'm the fun parent. Whereas now, you know, I get up in the morning and they think I need to be the fun parent for 12 hours a day. And it's not much respite there. But look, it's good. It's got its challenges, but it's very much, you know, great problems to have. We're all fit and healthy, and enjoying the time at the moment. Excellent.
Let's rattle through a few more of the questions coming in. Liz is asking, have any of you watched the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance? What do you think of his mindset and the example he set? Maybe throw that one to you, Cian. I mean, he was a bit of a bully at times, Michael Jordan, but he certainly gave an example to follow for the teammates. What do you think of that leadership?
Yeah, it's it's a fascinating documentary and a fascinating insight. I can say that I've never really played with anyone of that ilk. You know, his ego, which we would normally associate with being a kind of negative or something that might take away from the group or the team, that seemed to drive his team, and his personal goal of success and being the best of all time, which was, I think, an individual more so than a team goal, had the indirect effect of pulling his team with him. So it was funny that I think just given the talent and bit of an outlier with regards to high performing teams, like usually it's the unit that really drives it or makes the success, whereas you have an individual here that's almost accounting for the whole unit. So yeah, like I can't say I'd see any parallels with any individuals that I've ever played with, but fascinated by the story and fascinated by the character. Never would have really known that he had those traits or that was his character. So fascinating documentary, definitely.
Yeah, I work with a lot of footballers in England, and you know their reaction to it has been, maybe put this to you, Brian, that they say if there was a guy like that in a Premier League dressing room, he'd be kicked out. They wouldn't tolerate, no matter how good you are. And they would say someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, he might love himself in certain ways, he might preen in front of the mirror and stuff, but he would have to be a member of the team. Could you see someone in Gaelic football, no matter how good they are, could they ever have that dominance?
Yeah, it's probably a tough question. Just back to Cian's point again, it's just in Gaelic games we're always trying to squash that out. It's selflessness we're trying to promote. It's that humility we're trying to promote. It's, you know, no one is greater than the team. That's always the message, is, you know, everyone is replaceable, and, you know, they never sort of rest on your laurels, and everyone has to be given 100%. But it is remarkable, as Cian said, you know, I think we all watched it, and to see how, you know, having achieved so much, what my big takeaway from it was, he had achieved so much, but how he developed that bit of chip on his shoulder to sort of go again, what people said, whether it was media, whether it was the other, you know, ball handler, just even looking at him, he was like, I'm going to show you all now how good I am. And obviously the adversity that he went through as well, to come through that, you know, the death of his father and stuff. It's just, as Cian says, remarkable to have seen his full story. But yeah, I'm not sure now in a Gaelic dressing room how far he'd go, to be honest. I'm not sure what Jim Gavin would have thought of him, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Cliona, you've more experience than any of us of American sport. I mean, the thing that fascinated me was the whole trash talk thing, which is obviously very entertaining. I'm just wondering, in, you know, college soccer and stuff in the States, would people give that sort of trash talk? Would it motivate you if you heard something like that from an opponent?
Me personally, no, but definitely, I think it's part of the kind of sports culture over in America. They're all just extremely motivated to, you know, be successful and take any opportunity that comes their way. And, you know, I think in general, they always, you know, they just strive to be the best player, the one with the most awards, you know. It's kind of, I think, maybe more individual, especially in sports like basketball and like baseball, you know, the typical American sports. Whereas over here, you know, I think most players would say they'd rather win, like, I don't know, the All-Ireland over the best player in Ireland. You know, they'd rather the team award over an individual, or I think a lot of Americans would choose the individual award.
I guess, Johnny, the whole idea of the trash talk is you're probably trying to rile your opponent. Michael Jordan seemed to, you know, if someone dissed him, it made him go and win the game. I guess the worry, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it, is if someone riles you up too much and you try too hard, does that make you a less effective performer?
Yeah, no, it's different for every individual. I think you see some individuals that get riled up and they perform even better. You see some that when they get riled up, they totally lose their head. And so you can't really speak, for everyone in that regard. I think in modern sport, I don't know. Again, I don't know about American sports, but with rugby, there's very little, trash talk that goes on these days. Maybe at the start there was a little bit, but no, I get very, very little of it at the moment. There's microphones on referees, there's microphones pitch side, so all that stuff probably makes people a bit more self-conscious.
Absolutely. Right. More questions are coming in. Question from Deck, maybe throw this one to you, Cian. He's looking for any advice on how to keep kids engaged in GAA remotely during these times. Have you any back garden drills you'd recommend?
Well, remotely is the key. Yeah, it's very difficult. I think Cian Kilkenny, one of our teammates, has done an incredible job, in fairness to him, over the last however many weeks it is. Every day he's posted new skills and drills. I don't know where he's finding these drills from, because I would have ran out after the first 5 days, I'd say, of new drills. But he has a catalogue on his Twitter page of every GAA skill and drill under the sun. So that would be a great reference point. And in fairness to him, he's done a fantastic job in that and keeping a lot of the young GAA players in the country entertained for the last 7 or 8 weeks.
No, brilliant. Definitely sounds worth checking out. Brian, what do you miss? Any little things? I mean, obviously you miss getting a score, hearing the roar of a crowd, that kind of stuff. But do you miss the smell of DP? Do you smell those little things that maybe you don't think about when it's happening week in, week out?
No, luckily I don't spend too much time on the physio table for now, so don't miss the strapping or the DPs. But yeah, I think it comes back to one of the answers I probably gave earlier. Is just that the crack, the camaraderie, the friendship. People, you go training and you might grab a coffee with someone after training, and we have incredible times. A lot goes on behind the scenes. I suppose everyone sees us playing at August, September in front of 80,000 people, but a lot goes on behind the scenes to create genuine friendships. And it's probably cliche, but it's just a crack with the lads. I miss seeing Cian, I miss slagging them, I miss all of that stuff. So yeah, it's just that's what you miss. That sort of pre-training, post-training, bit of crack, bit of diddlement that's in the dressing room. I think that's what I certainly miss the most. Certainly.
Yeah, Cliona, is there much crack in the dressing room in the States? Do they have the same sort of sense of humour we do?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit more, there's a lot of, all the American girls, they do a lot of dancing and stuff before games, not very serious at all. And we kind of, we take our speaker in and we just play music and dance and stuff. And then, when the coach comes in to give the talk before the game, that's when you kind of tune in and are ready to go then.
Right, excellent. More questions coming in. This is from Colin. Throw this one to you, Johnny. Do you set yourself objectives every year, both personal and team objectives?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course they're secondary to your values and all the things that you try and live by day to day. But of course, at the end of the day, it's professional sport, and we're here to try and achieve. How you do that is important as well. But yeah, personally, I try and set goals at the start of a year. Even now, over this period, trying to set some goals about how I return to training, the condition I'm in, the state of mind I'm in, all those things. So small or short-term goals, long-term goals, yeah, definitely. And as a team as well, we definitely had under Joe Schmidt, who'd have even a lasting impression on Leinster's organisation, would be very value, driven as opposed to goal driven. So it's very much, our successes have been built off those values and not so much goals. But I think within that, guys know the standards, mean trying to win competitions, and that's the end goal. We don't really need to have to talk about that. But, the goals are driven by how we live our lives day to day within the organisation, and making sure that the culture is right.
Another question coming in. I think this is, there's no name on this one, but how do the panelists feel about playing games with no fans? Cian, if sport does come back, but it's behind closed doors, does that make it more difficult for you? Would you just be happy to be out there? What's your views?
Purely from a player's perspective, without thinking of the game on a wider community level, whatever form they can reintroduce playing and training, I'd be certainly for it. That's why I play the game, is to play, and to train and to try and be successful. And it's not to play in front of a crowd. I know as a fan, you want to go and experience the games and enjoy the day out, or watch it on the telly and soak up the atmosphere. But certainly as a player, it doesn't really make a difference to me whether there's a crowd there or there's not. It's about playing, and it's about trying to strive towards the goals that we set ourselves. So, I'd definitely be in favour of it. But I know there's a lot of different stakeholders involved in sport, so everyone has to be considered in making those decisions.
Yeah, I'd say that kind of selfishly, personally, as a commentator, I've commentated on games behind closed doors, and naturally, when a goal goes in, when a try is scored, your voice raises because normally the crowd is roaring, and even when the stadium is empty, you find yourself, oh, it's a goal, and you're getting really loud for some reason, and it always sounds terrible. And I think it's like being a surfer in a wave. The crowd noise goes up and your voice goes up with it, and it all sounds okay. If there's no wave underneath you, you're just floating in midair. And I think if you ever hear an advert and someone's put in some fake commentary, you always know it's fake commentary. It's never the real commentary, because the crowd isn't there in the background. Brian, what do you find? How much does the crowd motivate you? How much would your performance suffer if the cheer wasn't there in the background for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would agree with Cian a lot of things, but I differ as well. I think what the crowd gives me on a match day is complete energy. We're very lucky in Dublin. We've incredible support. Probably a lot of the same fans would follow Leinster Rugby. But in a packed out stadium, when you're at your lowest, there's an energy given to you from the crowd to make another run, or to support another play, or make another tackle or something. So, and like I've seen a couple of games where there's no fans, whether it be soccer, and even in the German leagues over the last few weeks, and there's just something missing. I don't know what it is. And so for me, as Cian would say, we play to play, and you're sort of itching to get the jersey back on. But a match for me without fans is just, it's unthinkable. They add so much energy and enthusiasm, and the atmosphere just, without them, I don't know, would it be the same.
Johnny, you'll have played training matches, I'm sure, games behind closed doors. Does it affect your performance, to the absence of crowd?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge. Definitely, it's something that I've been very lucky. I've had a long career playing in front of supporters and big crowds, but I think at the end of all this, I think we'll be so desperate to get back on the pitch, and I think it'll be such a driver for anyone that plays the game, that there's something higher at stake as well. And it's very much a case of get back out there and give people something to watch. If they're sitting at home, I'm desperate to watch a game of football, or watch Man United again, or any type of sport. I'd latch on to anything.
Just as Man United were beginning to turn the corner, actually, Johnny, they were beginning to play okay in recent months before this.
We're going to be even better now when we get back. So it's no, it is, and it's something that if you can think about it like that, it's going to be very special for people watching, from home, and getting rugby back on the TV for the first time, and to get that in that mindset and try and create something bigger than yourself for the game will definitely motivate us all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just a couple of minutes to go. Cliona, what are you most looking forward to getting back out there, putting the boots on, and getting back into action? What's the main motivation factor for you?
I think just having a routine again, and you can do all the fitness you want outside and stuff, but just getting back to like match fitness and being able to compete against other people, and obviously see your friends. Some of the best friends that I've made are through sports, so being able to just see everyone again, and I just miss competing every day.
Cian, will you appreciate it more having had to sit in the sidelines for a while?
Oh, certainly, yeah. Really, I guess your whole mental approach to this situation is massive, and being part of high performance setups, I think you're driven to always look at what the opportunity is, and to try and take the positive out of the situation. So certainly how we're addressing this period, and the opportunity being to navigate this lockdown period as best we can as a group, so that when we do come back, we can hit the ground running. But you're also thinking about, the positives, and that the sport gives you, and having been away from it so long, it is a great pause to reflect. You can kind of just get caught up in the seasons rolling into seasons, and you're in such a routine. And I've been playing for however many years now it is at this stage, that you don't get really good time and periods to step back and reflect on things, which is what I have got, that it's been taken away these last couple of weeks. So like we'd normally be training down in DCU this time of year in a pitch in St. Clair's, and the thoughts of going out and playing an internal game there, or a training session on a nice fresh day as we've had the last couple of weeks, is something that I'm really, really hoping I can experience soon, and it's got me very excited to experience again.
Definitely. You mentioned positivity there. I think this is a good thing to finish up on, actually. We have a question from Luke, who's age 12, and I might do quick fire with all of you on this. He says, it must be hard to stay positive during COVID when you cannot be playing the sport that you've loved all your life. Luke says he's finding it hard. Do you have any tips for staying positive? Brian, what do you do if you are feeling low? What do you do to get yourself back feeling good again?
Start with me, Conor. It is tough. I think we're all sort of out of sync slightly. As the lads have said, there's many positives, but we're all eager to get back to our normal ways and our normal life. So for me, I think it's just that huge sense of gratitude that I find. Again, not to be cliche, but I get to spend more time now with my girlfriend in the evenings. I get to come home and visit my family more often, whereas otherwise I would have been in training. So I think just have a little bit of, just as Johnny referenced before, just that small sense of being present. And yes, we're all anticipating what's down the road in normal life, and maybe the day in the beach or out to Howth or out to Malahide or whatever it is. But a huge sense for me of just a realization that I'm still very lucky, I'm still very fortunate, I'm healthy, I'm young, and there's a huge road ahead. So just that sense of reality, really.
Johnny, those golf clubs behind you are calling to you. I do think those white shoes look very shiny, though. I don't know if they've seen many fairways in recent weeks.
No, I've seen none. I'm actually not a member of anywhere in Dublin. You're not allowed to get out even for a few holes if you're not a member. So someone
will sort you out, surely.
Yeah, I remember
this now after this.
You can rod there.
Come and get me, please, from Sexton.
It's more of a plea to my wife to let me out and play. No, I remember down in Ballybunion in Kerry, and that's the only place I could play at the moment, but unfortunately that's further than 5 kilometres. So
I'd love a bit of Kerry air right now.
Doing a bit of chipping and practicing the garden.
So quick one from you, Johnny, on positivity. Any little tip to turn it around if you are feeling low?
Try and get out and play golf. Look, it is a challenge. It's a massive challenge at the moment to try and remain positive, through this time, especially for us as athletes, where we can't do what we love to do. And it is a challenge. So that's the first thing to say. The other way, I think the best way for me is to create a routine and, in my day, that just brings me back to a bit of normality in terms of training at a certain time, spending time with the kids, training again, or, any type of routine, keeps me positive, keeps me sort of focused and ready to try and get back, and hit the ground running. So that's how I do it. And like I said, try and use the time wisely. You think of it positively and think about it as time to improve and to improve areas that you wouldn't have otherwise. So that's the way I'm trying to do it. Quick
one from you, Cliona. Any little tip to stay positive?
I think that one of the best things you learn from sport is getting back up every time you get knocked down. Like, things don't go your way in games, or you have a bad season. So I think the key is just keeping your goals, visualizing your goals, and keep on pushing forward towards them, even if it's just one step at a time, just a little bit. And I also just think about what I'm going to do when quarantine's over, and kind of makes me a bit more positive.
Excellent. Quick one from you, Cian.
I guess a piece of advice I got before on that, if there's a situation you're uncomfortable with or that you're getting frustrated with, is just flip it around on its head. Ask yourself the question, what's the opportunity here? And just immediately turn it into a positive. So you could be negative and downhearted about lockdown and that impact it has on training and playing sports, but also if you're to ask yourself, okay, what's the opportunity? Well, for me personally, I've been given a window to do some work on strength and conditioning and on prehab and stuff that I otherwise wouldn't have, so that when I get to the end of this period, my body's in right shape to hit the ground running. Other opportunity is that, you know, I've got loads of time at home now with my newborn and my wife Danielle that I wouldn't otherwise have. So asking yourself that question, and that automatically focuses you on positive things. So that's just a little handy trick.
No, definitely. Well, listen, to Cliona, to Brian, and to Cian and Johnny, thanks so much. And it's been great to hear your insight. And I think Gillian wants to just say goodbye to everyone now, but thanks from me.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks so much, Conor, for a fantastic interview, and thanks to our panelists again for their time this afternoon, and to all our attendees for tuning in to the UCD Festival this year. Hopefully this time next year we'll be back on campus in Belfield to welcome you all back to another festival on campus in UCD next year. So thanks everyone for your time, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Well done.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.